Coming up on Carolina News, a line of storms is hitting the state on your commute home. Find out if you will be affected. Next, advocates for criminal justice reform gather at the State House for Second Chance Day. Hear their stories and what proposals they're fighting for. Finally, Attorney General Arnold is looking to lift Columbia's ban on gay conversion therapy.
The ban is unconstitutional and it's also unlawful under current state law.
Find out how this could impact the community. All this and more on Carolina News.
Thunderstorms will be hitting the state overnight and into early tomorrow. After yesterday's storms, heavy rain is expected once again for parts of the state.
Hello and welcome to Carolina News. I'm Megan Dalkshius.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jasmine Creech. With storms coming through the Midlands, let's go out to Owen Wetterhahn in the Kennedy Greenhouse with the latest on the storms.
Thanks, Jasmine. Currently, we're still under a flood advisory here in Columbia. That'll last until about 5 p.m. But right now around me, the storms are currently starting to die down, but I would not expect it to stay that way. We'll be battling occasional storms throughout the state, throughout the rest of the night. Right now it's about 78 degrees, but we'll see that temperature go up as we approach the rest of the weekend. Find out more in my full forecast in a little bit. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Owen. South Carolina has a higher incarceration rate than any nation. With so many people behind bars, an important question needs to be asked. What's keeping them stuck in this cycle? Kara Setzer is at the State House to tell us.
Thanks, guys. After getting released from prison, formerly incarcerated individuals have tougher times finding jobs, housing, and even driver's licenses. Here at the State House, advocates for criminal justice reform gathered this morning for Second Chance Day to bring awareness to these issues and celebrate rehabilitation.
We're a lot greater than our greatest mistake, and unfortunately, we can't get past that with a lot of society's views.
Jimmy McPhee spent 45 years in prison and 3 years on death row for the crime of murder. But 5 years ago, he was released, started a family, and got a chance at a fresh start.
Every morning I wake up, I thank God for waking up in my own bed with my beautiful wife behind me and opportunities just to live a life that I never really thought I'd be able to take advantage of.
McPhee received this opportunity through Columbia International University's Prison Initiative program, the same program that helped Renee Purefoy's son regain direction and even write a book after being sentenced to 40 years in prison.
Unfortunately, like I said, I'll be 91, and unless the Lord's willing, I won't be here. And I'd like to see him. I'd like to feed him, I'd like to hug him outside of, like every mother's dream.
Purefoy says legislation is needed that gives second chances now, not later on in one sentence. But many current programs take years to make a difference when in front of the parole board. And her own son still has 23 more to go.
Unfortunately, like I said, I'll be 91. And unless the Lord's willing, I won't be here. And I'd like to see him. I'd like to feed him, I'd like to hug him outside of, like every mother's dream.
But for some, it's too late. Reverend Hillary Taylor was Brad Sigmund's spiritual counselor, a man whose execution by firing squad made national headlines last month. Taylor, the organizer of today's event, found a friend in Sigmund in a time of her life when she needed it most.
I'm extremely sad still that Brad is dead. He was somebody who was a really big source of emotional and spiritual support for me.
She said Sigmund was a changed man, dedicated to others, from sharing his commissary to supporting pen pals in Germany and England.
He was somebody who tried every way to ask for forgiveness, and not just to say sorry, but to do the work of sorry.
Stories like Sigmund's, McPhee's, and Purefoy's were just a few of the stories shared today at Second Chance Day, an event that takes place annually here at the State House in Columbia, as advocates continue to push for legislation that would make life easier for those re-entering society after prison. Live from the State House, Kara Setzer, Carolina News.
South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson is demanding to repeal the 2021 ban on conversion therapy for minors. Conversion therapy involves counseling that tries to get a person to change their sexual orientation or gender identity. In a new letter to the City of Columbia, Wilson advocates for the repeal, calling the current ban unconstitutional.
Hey, look, the ban is unconstitutional and it's also unlawful under. Opponents of my position and proponents of this ban are going to use the strongman argument to say that this is anti-gay, this is anti-LGBT or whatever, and this.
South Carolina Pride President Dylan Gunno says it's anti-gay.
Attorney General is choosing to disregard facts, data, choosing to disregard all of the major medical associations, whether it's the American Psychological Association, American Medical Association, American Pediatric Association.
Gunno says this is a harmful practice that harms LGBTQ youth. Wilson has given the city of Columbia a May 5th deadline for a response to quote-unquote avoid any further legal action.
The Calhoun County Finance Director was arrested for embezzlement and misconduct. The Calhoun County Sheriff said they arrested Travis Mitchell Crocker, who has been in this position since November 2024. Deputies say he was arrested on charges of embezzlement of public funds and misconduct in office. He has been released on bond and is set to return to court on May 16th of this year.
2 additional arrests have been made following a shooting in Blythewood on April 5th. The Richland County Sheriff Department says they arrested 18-year-old Satterine DeVoe and 19-year-old Tyreek Shelley. Deputies say they were both charged with breach of peace and of high and aggravated nature. This investigation is still going.
Over in Richland County, a 56-year-old registered sex offender was arrested for exposing himself in public. Joey Leaphart, who was detained back in 2023 for an indecent exposure, exposed himself at the intersection of Maple Street and Millwood Avenue on Monday. The Columbia Police Department say they were able to arrest with the help of witnesses who saw Leaphart. Police say Leaphart has been given a $25,000 surety bond and is being taken to Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center following his arrest.
A routine driver license check by the Sumter County Sheriff's Office resulted in the arrest of 3 people on meth trafficking and possession of a weapon during a violent crime. Deputies stopped a vehicle operated by 34-year-old Christopher Moses, 33-year-old Candace Evans, and 47-year-old Albert Cooper. Authorities say they saw drug paraphernalia and an AR-style rifle when approaching the vehicle. Moses, Evans, and Cooper were arrested and transported to the Sumter County Sheriff's Office Detention Center, where they are still in custody.
The Senate gave final approval to the more than $14 billion state spending plan. This plan would include $80 million for teacher pay raises, which would make the starting pay up to $48,500. The spending bill now heads back to the House for further changes to be made. Columbia High School hosted its Tech in Action Field Day on the school's football field today. For more on how high schoolers are getting a blast off to their careers, here's Ryan Marinero.
Columbia High School hosted its Tech in Action Day on the school's football field today to reward students in the BLAST program for their hard work and to promote STEM education.
So what you have are several universities who are out, but for each academy, how do you create a fun, inviting, entertaining, and learning experience that promotes STEM education and career readiness? But we've got to be creative and reach this generation, and that's what you see today.
And they got a lot of cool things to this event as well. Over here they have flight simulation and drone flying as we pan over here. There are food and beverages for the kids as well. And then we have a van that has esports and video games. And then over here we have all the colleges that are looking to bring in these kids like Charleston Southern at Benedict College and others. And then over here on the football field we have bouncy castles as well.
The BLAST program is a part of a U.S. Department of Education grant that prepares students for STEM, and only 2 districts in the state of South Carolina were chosen for the grant.
Yeah, these grants are highly competitive. Only a few award every year.
9th grader Andrew Merritt says it is the most hands-on experience he's ever had.
You know, most schools you go to them, they say, oh yeah, we're so hands-on. You go there and you just sit in a classroom for 4 hours a day looking at a notebook. This here is actually hands-on. You do experiments, you do labs, on and on.
I want to create joyful learning inspired environments, part of it, and to bring back the joy and happiness of learning. I always say if you can inspire a student, they can learn anything.
Merritt said since he's joined the BLAST program, he's now seriously considering becoming a doctor and saving lives. For Carolina News, I'm Ryan Marinero.
Obidiki says students have taught her much more than she could have ever taught them, and that kids who go through the BLAST program have the capacity to get six-figure jobs right out of high school. Coming up,
how two women battling multiple sclerosis found their own ways to help the community.